No negotiation. Okay, good morning. We're learning as a schusra for Shalema Filan Chai Basar. We're on Daf Yud Aleph on the base by the Mishnah. This Mishnah it should at least sound familiar. Even if it's not familiar, it should sound familiar. It's really a copy of a Mishnah that we had before in Zvachim. It's basically the same thing, and this Mishnah has been referred to a number of times. Kaimitz mincha. Someone who does kmitza on a mincha, again, a mincha, just we always took by a carbon, by a zevach, that there's the shchita, and then the Kabbalah, halacha, and zrika, the four avodas hadam. A mincha has a similar four avodas that you do. First you do the kmitza, then you put the kaimitz into a kli, then you bring halacha, you bring it to the mizbeach, and then you burn it on the mizbeach. The burning of the kaimitz on the mizbeach is equivalent to the zrikas hadam. And like we said, back in Zvachim last year, when you do any of those four avodas, and have in mind that you're going to consume one of the consumables, either that you're going to bizarik the dam, or you're going to eat the basar, or burn the emurim on the mizbeach. Chutz l'zmane, chutz l'mkaime, it's going to be pasul. If it's chutz l'mkaime, it's going to just be pasul. If it's chutz l'zmane, it's going to be pigel, and it's going to be chayiv kares. So we're going to apply those same rules over here to the same rules about having a machshavas, chutz l'zmane, chutz l'mkaime. The chutz l'mkaime is pasul, and chutz l'zmane is pigel to the having a machshava while doing the avodah of the kmitz, of the mincha. So that's the Mishnah. Kaimitz mincha. Someone who does the kmitza on a mincha, lechal shireh b'chutz, and he has in mind that he's going to eat the leftovers. The leftovers of the silas is similar to the basar of the carbon, and he has in mind he's going to eat it b'chutz, outside of the. Let's say it's kachay kachim. He's going to eat it outside of the Beis Hamikdash. A kazayis mishireh b'chutz, or even just one kazayis. Doesn't have to be the whole shirayim. If he's going to eat one kazayis of those shirah b'chutz, l'hakter kaim b'chutz, or he has in mind, rather than eating the leftover silas, he has in mind he's going to burn the kaimitz outside, which is similar to having in mind to be zarik kadam. He's going to do it b'chutz. A kazayis kaim b'chutz, so he has in mind to take a kazayis of that kaimitz and bring it b'chutz. Or alternatively has in mind that he's going to be makter the levina. Levina is also a requirement of a mincha, of some minchas. Possible. All these things are going to be a machshavas chutzim kaime, which the din is that it's possible, it's an invalid carbon, it's not pig. However, if rather than having all these things, having all these machshavas, he's going to do it chutzim kaime, if he has in mind lechel shireh l'machar, kazayis mishireh l'machar, if he has in mind to eat the leftovers, the shirayim, the following day, or kazayis of the shirayim the following day, l'hakter kaim l'machar, kazayis mekaim l'machar, or if he has in mind to be makter the kaims of the next day, or even just the kazayis of the kaimitz, or l'hakter l'vaynas l'machar, or to be makter the levina the next day. Pigel v'chayv of kares. In that case, it's going to be pigel, and you're going to chayv kares. That's a machshavas chutz l'zman. So the Gemara is going to delve into the precise details of this, the way this is said. So you just have to keep in mind that we talk about both eating he has in mind to do bachutz, we say eating the shirayim bachutz or kazayis, or being makdir the kaimetz bachutz or kazayis, and the same thing for the machshavas pigel. Now the Mishnah continues. It says, "Zakla." What is rule is? Did we just say? Kol kaimetz aynoisim b'kli hamoilach hamakdir. So now the Mishnah extends it. The first part of the Mishnah just applied this to the avodah of kmitza. Now it says by all four avodas, whether he did the kmitza, or he noised in the kli, or he put it into a kli, or hamoilech, or he brought it to the mizbeach, hamakter, or he burnt the mizbeach. All four avodas lechel davar shadaka, lechel ulahakter davar shadaka lahakter. As long as he has in mind to eat something that is normally eaten, meaning the shirayim are supposed to be eaten by the kehanim, and he has in mind that the kohen's going to eat it chutz lazmani chutz l'kohen, right? Or lahakter davar shadaka lahakter, meaning he has in mind to be makter the kaimetz, which is something that is normally burnt on the mizbeach. Chutz l'kohen possible by kars chutz lazmani pigel v'chayv of kars. If it's a machshavas of chutz l'kohen, that it's going to be possible. If it's a machshavas chutz l'zmani, that's going to be pigel, which is also chayiv kars. However, this is all dependent on that he does the rest of the avodah of this mincha properly. He has to be makrav hamatir, what makes it mutter k'mitzvasai, everything has to be done properly. Ketzah karv hamatir k'mitzvasai. What does it mean? What's an example that where he did everything else other than the machshavas pigel or the machshavas chutz l'zmanai? Well, really is more a matter of a pigel, right? Because we're saying that if it's a machshavas pigel, he has a machshavas chutz l'zmanai, he's going to be chayiv kares. But if there's a different machshava or there's some other psul in the rest of the carbon, then it won't be pigel. It has to be karva matik mitzvah in order to be chayiv pigel, to be chayiv kares. So ketza karva matik mitzvah. Chametz b'shtika. If he did the kmitza without any machshava, without saying anything. Nosam b'kli v'hayla v'hikter chutz l'zmanei. But then he did the other three avodas with the machshavas chutz l'zmanei. Oisha kametz chutz l'zmanei. He did the kmitza chutz l'zmanei. Nosam b'kli v'hayla v'hikter b'shtika. And he did the rest of the things b'shtika. Oisha kametz v'nosam b'kli v'hayla v'hikter chutz l'zmanei. Or if he did all four avodas chutz l'zmanei. This is considered that everything was done properly, other than the machshavas chutz l'zmanei, and he's going to be chayiv kares for pigel. Kate said loy karav hamatik mitzvasei. What is considered that he didn't do the rest of the mincha properly, and therefore he won't be chayiv kares for pigel for his machshavas chutz l'zmanei? It's kametz chutz l'mkaimai. If he did the kmitza chutz l'mkaimai, so it's already passing the mincha right up front. Loy karav hamatik mitzvasei. Even though he then did the rest of it, if he just did the first part, and then the rest of it, if he did any one of the four avodas and the rest, all of these, he didn't do the rest of the avodah other than the chutz l'zmanei part, the machshavas pigel. He did not do it correctly, and therefore he won't be chayiv kares. It's a little bit unfair, right? You get punished for doing the avodah properly. If you do the rest of the avodah properly, and you do a machshavas chutz l'zmanei, you're going to get kares. But if you do it improperly, then since the rest of the carbon is improper, so then your machshavas chutz l'zmanei does not get the dim pigel, and it'll be off the hook for the cars.
You want to rebel, you got to rebel all
the way. Yeah, but if saying you don't get punished for it, you're saying, yeah.
So it's better to rebel all the way.
If you're going to mess it up properly. Do a good job of messing it up so that it doesn't even work as a machshavas pigel. Yeah. Minchas chayte or minchas kenoyes. If you remember back from the first Mishnah in this Masechta, we said Minchas Chayta and Minchas Kenoyes are like the carbon chatas, that other carbonas that you do a machshavas shaloi lishma are pasul b'lei alu ba'al m'shem are kosher b'lei alu ba'al m'shem chayva. But the chatas by a carbon and the Minchas Chayta and the Minchas Kenoyes by a mincha, if you do it shaloi lishma, is pasul. It's entirely pasul. It's not kosher b'lei alu ba'al m'shem chayva, but it's pasul altogether. So minchas chayta, minchas kenoyes, comes in shaloi lishma. You had a machshavas shaloi lishma, so that already made the carbon a pasul carbon. Nasam l'kli v'haylev hekter chutz l'zmanei. Then you had a machshavas chutz l'zmanei. Aisha kametz chutz l'zmanei. Nasam l'kli v'haylev hekter shaloi lishma. or vice versa. He first did a kmitza, chutzos manai, then he did the rest of it, shalei lishma. I should comment on us and plead b'hayla v'hekta shalei lishma, or if he had a machshava shalei lishma in any one of the four avodas, while he did the rest with machshavas chutz l'zamani, zeu shalei karav hamata k'mitzvasei. He's not going to be chayiv on this. Since a minchas chayta, minchas kenois have the din, the machshavas shalei lishma apostles, the same thing like having a machshavas chutz l'kaimai, that you already ruined the carbon, that it's not a kosher carbon, so your machshavas chutz l'zamani won't make the person chayiv, he won't be pigel to be mechayiv in cars. Now the Mishnah continues. Lechel kazayis b'chutz kazayis l'mocha. If he, let's say, does the kmitza, and he has in mind, Rashi says, on one of the avodas, that he has in mind two machshavas. He has in mind that he's going to eat a kazayis of this, of the bas, of the shirayim, of this mincha b'chutz, and another kazayis he's going to eat the following day. So the kazayis, the machshava of kazayis l'machar, the machshavas chutz l'zmanik, that should really be mechayev him karas. But since he additionally had the machshava on the other kazayis, that he's eating that chutz l'zmanik, chutzum kaimai, and chutzum kaimai passes it, so it's not karav hamater k'mitzvasei. So the continuing kachatzi zayis b'chutz, kachatzi zayis l'machar, kachatzi zayis l'machar, kachatzi zayis l'chutz, or if he had in mind to do just a half a kazayis b'chutz and l'machar, then it's going to be possible b'ein b'karis. Now the second one, where it's a chatzi zayis l'machar, doesn't have to do really with the fact that it's shalei. It's not shalei. It's not that it was not matik karv hamatik k'mitzvasei. The problem over there is he didn't have a full machshavas chutz l'zmani. He only had on a half a kazayis. So that's the reason why it's not going to be pigel. Rav Yehuda disagrees, and we had this back in Zvachim. It should be a little familiar. Rav Yehuda za'aklal in machshavas hazman kadma l'machshavas hamakom. In the first case, where he had a machshava on a kazayis, kazayis chutz l'zmani, and then afterwards he had a machshava of chutz l'mkaimai, pigel v'chayv and love cars. Rabbi Yehuda will say, we will pay attention to the first machshava, and if he had in the same avodah, right, he first had a machshava, I'm going to do one kazayis chutz l'zmani, and then another kazayis chutz l'mkaimai, we say we ignore the second machshava, because in the same avodah, we look at his first machshava, what he thought at first. However, in machshavas hamakom kadma machshavas hazman pasal be'em b'karis. If the machshava to do chutzum kaimai came first, it's going to be pasal be'em b'karis, because then again the first machshava will trump the second machshava, and it will all be treated as a machshava psula. Chamim zeh v'zeh pasal be'em b'karis. The Chamim say, like the Tachatana Kama said, that it's just going to be possible. We're not going to pay attention to which one came first. As long as you have a machshavas chutzum kaimai, it's going to be shaloi karav hamater k'mitzvasei, and it's going to be possible rather than pigol and chayiv cars. This first, we just did the Mishnah so far. It's a long Mishnah, but fortunately, it's the same as the Mishnah that we had in Zvachim, just applied to a mincha basically. It's almost exactly the same exact Mishnah. Iboil. Now it gets complicated. Practicum. L'divrei Aimer shirayim shechasru ben kmitzel haktara makta kaimetz aleim. We had the machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish a couple of blot ago, when we said that the shirayim, the flour of the mincha, you take away the kaimetz, and that's what you do the avodah with. That gets burnt on the mizbeach. But the rest of the flour, like we said, is like the body of the animal of a carbon. And we said if it becomes mechusser, if something happens to part of it, it's almost like it's a mum. It's like we'll treat it like an animal that got a mum. So this shirayim that became mechusser. So we had a machlekes, if some of it disappeared, something happened to part of the shirayim, that it's no longer available to be eaten. So Rabbi Yochanan said you can still continue and be maktir the kaimetz. It doesn't passel the carbon. you could still continue with the avodah and burn the kaimitz on the mizbech. That's Rabbi Yechon. The kaimelon, the oitzin shirayim asurim b'achila. However, although you can continue and burn the kaimitz, the rest of the shirayim, these flawed shirayim, are not allowed to be eaten by the kehanim. They're missing. We learned it out from a pasuk. It's missing part of the. It's almost like a balmum, and it's mechusar, and therefore it's not allowed to be eaten by the kehanim. So this is currently, it's a kosher mincha, but the shirayim are not allowed to be eaten. So the fractic more on those shirayim. What if someone has in mind to eat those shirayim that you're not allowed to eat? So they're semi-pasala shirayim, and he has in mind to eat them chutz l'zmanei. So normally when he does the, for example, let's say he does the haktaras of the kaimitz on the mizbech, and as he's doing that, he's saying, I'm going to eat the shirayim l'machar. Now these shirayim he's not allowed to eat because they were mechusar. Do we say, is that considered to still be a sufficiently valid shirayim that his machshav on it will make it pigel, to be mechayev kares? Another nafkamina about that shirayim that's mechusar, v'lefkinu midei me'ila. These shirayim that he's not allowed to eat, the din always is that kachei kachim, and mincha is kachei kachim. When you're mekadesh, when you're mafresh kachei kachim, they become mechuyev in me'ila, and they first exit the din of me'ila, the rule that anyone who has enough from them is chayiv me'ila with the karbanos and has to pay a chaimish and all kinds of things. But obviously, if you have kachei kachim, which let's say for an animal, you have kachei kachim that you bring, that the kehanim are allowed to eat in the Beis HaMikdash, when they're allowed to eat it, at the end of the process, when the carbon is finished, when you're finished with the avodah, then the basa becomes mutter for the kehanim to eat. It's no longer mechuyev me'ila. And the same thing with the mincha. The shirayim become mutter, when they become mutter to eat, at that point there's no longer din mila. But these shirayim never became mutter to eat because they have the rule that since they were mechusar, you can't eat the shirayim. So the question is, when you makdir the kaimitz of this mincha, does that move the shirayim along, the shirayim that are mechusar along, that they no longer have a din mila, which is really very similar to the din about pigel. Do we say it's still part of the carbon that it could be kaveh and pigel, and is it still part of the carbon that when you do the haktara that it takes it out of meal, or is it's users to eat, so therefore none of these things apply? Rav Huna says that we have a third example of a similar type of analysis. Rav Huna filer b'kiva the Amar zrika me'elas liyaitza. Rav Kiva has a similar din to what we just talked about, the gabe, whether me'ila is going to apply to the shirayim, which we said was similar to the din of whether pigel will apply to those shirayim. That's mechusar. He says if you have basar of a carbon that was brought outside, it was supposed to be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash, and there's a din you're not allowed to take it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, and he brought it outside. And then he did zrika. So it's once it went outside, it's also to be eaten. And they finished, and then this all happened before the zrika of the dam. And then the kohen did the zrika of the dam. Is that going to make it that if he has, that basa that was yaitza is going to take away the chiyuv of me'ila on it, right? Since, like we just said with the mincha, that. Do we say since he's not allowed to eat it because it was yaitz that went out of the Beis Hamikdash, therefore the zrika does not help to take off the din me'ila? Or do we say no, it's still part of the carbon, just because it can't be eaten doesn't make it out of the carbon, that the zrika won't help to take off the din me'ila? So he says even according to Rabbi Kiva, who would say that the zrika is me'elas liyaitz, meaning that it would be still considered part of the carbon, and you would have a din. The din me'ila would go off, which would seem to indicate that by the shirayim shechasru, that it should also, the din of me'ila should go off, as well as that it should be able to be kaveya and pickle. He said, no, I could distinguish between the din of Rabbi Kiva. Hani mili yaitza, the isi be'enu, pasal machmas davaracha. That which Rabbi Kiva says that it still has a din that the zrika is going to be a me'eles, for the yaitza, that's because the yaitza is still complete. There's nothing missing from it. It just went outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So the psul is not because it's not here. The psul is because there's an outside force. The fact that you took it out, that passes it, but that's not as intrinsic as a psul of mechusar shirayim mechusar. Avachasar and the psul de gufahu. But over here, where it's a psul de gufa, loy mahani lehaktar. Rav Huna would say that even though Rabbi Akiva would say that over there that it would be the zrika would be me'eles, over here the haktaras of the kaimets, which is equivalent to the zrika, would not be helpful because this shirayim shemachosser is a more inherent psul, and the haktara will not have an effect on it. Amalei Rava, Adarab, he says I say it exactly the other way. I feel the Amma ain't Zrika me'eles liyaitza, even the mandam who's chaylik on Rabbi Akiva, and he says Zrika does not have effect on the yaitza. So therefore, that would seem to indicate over here that the haktara of the kaimets should not make it that the meila goes off and that it's able to have a machshavas pegel. You'd say that's only by yaitza. Hani mil yaitza the lesser b'fnim. He holds that the more salient distinction is whether the psul comes from something that's happening in the Beis Hamikdash or outside. So yaitza, since it's not in the Beis Hamikdash, that's why it's not such a big psul. No, it's a bigger psul because it's not in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, the zrika is not going to be mile on it. It's not going to help. Avachasar and the shirayim shechasud is a bifnim, but it's still in the Beis Hamikdash. It hasn't gone out of the boundaries. On that, the haktara would help to make it that it's no longer going to have it in meila, and it's going to be a machshavas chutzos mani will make it pigel.
What does it mean? It's missing. I mean, where did it go? It's in the Beis Hamikdash.
Whenever it fell off and it got lost.
Lost in the Beis Hamikdash, basically.
Yeah, it fell in the ground. It's gone. Burnt. Face. I don't know what happened.
Somebody ate it.
Someone ate it. Could be anything. Whatever it is. So, got lost in the shuffle. A lot of kahanim, a lot of menachos. Everyone's running around. And also they realize this one's missing. Amar Rava. So Rava had said that we're going to say, even according to the Manda Amar says, Ein Zrika me'eles, but over here, we're going to say, the fact that it's mechusar is not going to passel it. Amar Rava mino amino. How do I know that's the case? That's the case. That's not. He says I learned it from our Mishnah, and he has a very complicated way of deducing that from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah had started off. We said if he did the kmitza, there was two parts of the first part of the Mishnah. First, we said that if you do the kmitza chutzlin kaimai with the machshava to eat the shirayim b'chutz, or even a kazayis of the shirayim b'chutz, or to be or to be makdir the kaimetz b'chutz or kazayis of the kaimetz b'chutz, and then it said then it's going to be possible. But if he did that with a machshavetz chutz uzmani, and again he says lechol shirei l'machar kazayis mishirei l'machar lahakta kamsel l'machar kazayis mekamsel l'machar. So the Mishnah had said on both of those, on all those cases, that it's going to be dependent on if it's chutz l'zman and chutz l'mkaim, right? And then the Mishnah said zehaklal and extended that as well to not just we did the kaimitz with the machshavas chutz l'zman and chutz l'mkaim, but also if he did the hamoylech, he was nice and bekli, or hamoylech v'amakter, the other three avodas as well as kaimitz, it's all going to have the same din. So lechel davar shadakal lechel hakter davar shadakal hakter, and in that part of the mission doesn't say even a kazayis. It says just stamaz. That's what the Gemara. That's what we're going to tell on. So we said that's what our Mishnah said. But Tani Rav Chia, the Gemara continues. But Tani Rav Chia, hakaymes amincha v'loy Tani ay kazayis. Rav Chia said a brisa that did not say precisely the same thing as our Mishnah. It was generally following what our Mishnah said, but he left out the part of lahakter kaimsa b'chutz or kazayis kaimsa l'chutz. Lechal shireh b'chutz or kazayis mishireh b'chutz. It just said lechal shireh b'chutz or lahakter kaimsa b'chutz without the kazayis. My time loitani oikazayis. Why didn't he say oikazayis? It's because Rav Chia understood that when we say a kazayis, it means that all that's left of the shirayim is a kazayis. It doesn't mean that he just ate one. He has in mind that there's a whole isaron of silas left over, or a isaron, whatever the full shirayim were, and he just had in mind to do one kazayis of it, bachutz or chutzuzmani, but rather that was that's all that was left of the shirayim that he was having the machshava on. The rest was gone. The kiven de b'matan kli behiluch b'aktara le'masnilei, and he says since we can't say that in the second part of the Mishnah because there would in the first part of the Mishnah clearly it can't be talking about where he did the kmitza when it was mechusar, because in the kaimitz, if it's mechusar, the kmitza itself is an invalid kmitza. It doesn't make difference what it's machshaveh. But in the second part, he's saying it can't be talking about. We don't want to say that because in the second part, when it says that he had in mind the other three avodas, that if it were to be talking about the that it was only a kazayas left. So we have to finish the end of the line. Since we can't say or a kazayas on the shirayim, because like Rashi says, you can't say it because then it would also go on the kaimitz. Dumya de shirayim, because and if you'd be mechasar on the kaimitz, it would be puzzle. And I'm sorry. Let me read this right. By the kmitza as well, it doesn't say lechal shirayim because it didn't say oikazais. Uktani sefer pigal b'chayvel of karas. And nevertheless, the Mishnah says, so he says it's talking about, Reb Chia didn't want to say it because he felt it would be inconsistent. But our Mishnah Taka said oikazais. So therefore it is talking, the Mishnah was not, Reb Chia is not arguing on the Mishnah. He just was arguing on the Mishnah that he felt it would be inconsistent to say a kazayas if it's not going to apply to the second part. But to the other avodas. But Lamaisa does apply to this other avodas. The din he agrees on, and the Mishnah does say kazayis. Uktani sefer pigel v'chayvel of kars, and nevertheless it says that it's going to be pigel and chayvel of kars, in spite of the fact that it was just a kazayis that that is mechusar. It means all that's left is a kazayis. Alma mahanilu aktar. So you see from the fact that our Mishnah, even though it's talking about a case of shirayim, it's still mahani aktar. So that is Rabba's raya that even Rebbe Eliezer would be maskim. Everyone would be maskim that a achila. If you have shirayim shechasru after the kmitza, and you have a machshava on that machshava chutz l'zmanei on that shirayim to eat a chutz l'zmanei, that it would make it pigel. Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, loy. It's not necessarily true. That's not the reason why we're saying over here it's pigel. Hamani Rebbe Eliezer. This is going on Rebbe Eliezer. That's not. He has a whole different shita. Hakaimitz ba'alavayna, ba'ktairis aminchas, kaihanim aminchas, kain mashiach aminchas nesachim. All these different examples of minchas that are fully burnt on the mizbeach. The entire thing is burnt on the mizbeach. Shehikr me'achs mehen kazayis b'chutz. If you are makir of a kazayis of them b'chutz, which is going back to the halacha that we've been learning about, the isser to be makir a part of a carbon outside of the Beis Hamikdash, chayiv. Even if you just did a kazayas, even though you're supposed to be mak of the whole thing, you're chayav. Rebbe Elazar poiter achi Yaakov es kula. Rebbe Elazar says you're poiter until you bring the whole thing. Kivin the baktora kmitza loima. So according to Rebbe Eliezer, there's an entirely different reason why our Mishnah, why we didn't want to say, why Rebbe Chia didn't want to say Haktar, because it's going according to Rebbe Elazar, who's poiter until you makav the entire. If you just makav one chelik, one kazayas out of the whole thing, you're not going to be chayav. So kivin the baktar's kmitza le'masin le'ay kazayas min kamsa b'chutz. Since when we're talking about being maktir the kmitza, the kaimitz, you can't say a kazayas min kamsa b'chutz, because according to Rebbe Eliezer, whenever you have in mind the whole thing, whenever you're supposed to be maktir the whole thing, if you just are maktir part of it, legabe the isser of haktara b'chutz, you're not b'chayiv. The same thing will apply over here about a machshavas chutzos manda. If you have in mind to only do one kazayas, you're going to be potter. B'shirayim no. So therefore, b'shirayim nami loy masni loy oy kazayas. That's why by the shirayim it also didn't say oy kazayas. So tomorrow, Rebbe Elazar, if it's going in Rebbe Elazar, if that's the case, the Mishnah shouldn't have said that he has a machshava to be maktir the kaimitz, because to be maktir the kaimitz is not enough. According to Rebbe Elazar, in order to have a machshavas pigul, you have to have in mind to be maktir everything that's required to be maktir, and he holds you have to also be maktir the levina. Where do we see that? The Tanan HaKaimitz v'Alevayna sheikar v'se'echad mehem b'chutz chayiv. Tanakama says if you are maktir, you have levayna and kaimitz, and you only maktir one of them b'chutz, you're still chayiv. Rebbe Elazar poit achi Yaakov v'shneim. Rebbe Elazar says you need both. So how could you say our Mishnah is going to Rebbe Elazar, who also and that's the reason why he doesn't want to say shirai. So according to Rebbe Elazar, you'd have to. It should have to say the levina as well. So tomorrow, the Gemara says no. We have a simple answer to that. The reason why we don't worry about the levina is because we're talking about minchas chayta, that there is no levina. In fact, are we just saying our Mishnah was only talking about the minchas chayta? There's no mention. It just says the mincha, and now you're telling me it's limited to minchas chayta. He says, yes, that's what it's talking about. He taka learned our Mishnah is going by a kaimitz of minchas chayta, and according to Rebbe Elazar. Hada Amar Rava, Lav Milsi da Amri. Rava in the end was chayzer from what he said. He said that if it's shirayim shechasu ben chamitza la'aktara, it's not going to. He had originally said on the first place that the aktara is going to work. That if you have in mind a machshavas pigul, it's going to be pasul, it's going to be chayv karas, and it's going to take away the milah. He says he was chayzer. The Tanya kodesh kadashim hu he shem nifrasa achas mehen chaliseh kulam psulas. That if by the lechem aponim, if one of the lechem aponim was missing before the burning of the bezichin, which is similar to the burning of the kaimitz on a mincha, kulam psulas, they're all possible. If one of the part of one of the chalas was missing, it's like a shirayim shechas. The chalas are like the shirayim of a kaimitz. That they would eat, the kahanim would eat the chalas every week, those 12 chalas. So they're similar to the shirayim of a mincha. He says if one of them is missing, kulam psulas. Hayatza, but if they would be yaitza chutzlas or hani deka gavoy ksheres, those that remained inside are kosher. He makes like a deal. The fact that it said if it's missing, that passes, but if it was yaitza, it would be kosher. Man shamali da'ama is rika melis li yaitza. Who's the man da'ama who says that if it goes chutz, it's gonna still be kosher? Rabbi Akiva. It's Rabbi Akiva common never so light, and even so, it said if it's never so, it's not going to be possible. So Rava had said that Rabbi Akiva would say that never so would be possible. Rabbi Akiva would be maskim by a mincha that if it was missing or it was mechutz the shirayim, it's possible. Amalei Abaya, Miktani Hayatsa, didn't say Hayatsa. So you were Medayik Hayatsa, it's going to be kosher. Dilmaha Nitmas. Maybe it means that if it was Yaitz, but if it was Nitma, that it's going to be kosher. Hanach Sheris, and it's going to be kosher my time at the Maratza Tzitz, because the Tzitz is Maratza on Tumah, on Tumah B'tzibur, and this is a carbon tzibur. Av Yatsa Loi. Rebbe Lazi Dama Ein Zrika Me'elas L'Yaitza. And it could be going like Rebbe Eliezer, who says, Ein Zrika Me'elas L'Yaitza, but then who di boile le'misti nami Yatza. And it really should have said, the case of Yatza, Hai did Kani Nifrisa. Why did it say Nifrisa? Because according to him, Yatza is the same din that it's going to be puzzle. It's coming to tell you that even if Fnim, something which is a b'fnim, it's still the haktar is not going to be hani. Nami mahani le haktar. But it could be Rabbi Kiva who says Rika Melza Yaitza. He would say that chesaron as well is the mahani haktar. Okay, I'm going to stop over here. This is why Rava was chayz. Definitely getting